Okay, good evening, everyone. I have a teacher next to me. She knows how to quiet a class. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:32, and I'm calling the meeting to order. This is the February 27th, 2025 meeting of the Davis Human Relations Commission. Our first item of business is to call the roll. Carrie, could you do that first?
Felix Alvarez.
Here.
Kevin Baker.
Here.
Connor Gorman.
Here.
L.A. Kaplan. Here. Amir Cole.
Here.
Laney Pickett.
Here.
Dima Tamimi. Here. Edgar Wong Cheng.
Here.
Michael Villalobos.
Here.
Ex officio. And then I'll note that Councilmember Linda Dios is here as well for the first time. Welcome, Linda. And our ex officios, Kate Snow and Daniel Mojica, are not able to make it tonight.
Great, thank you very much, Carrie. We have a quorum, and our next item of business is brief announcements from staff commissioners and liaison. We are joined tonight as Carrie.
Please approve the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, we do have to approve the agenda. I want to get to the good stuff. Okay, let's approve the agenda before we start taking up items on the agenda. The first item then is number 2, approval of the agenda. It is included in the public packet. I think all the members have it. And we just need a motion to approve the agenda if someone is so willing.
I move to approve.
Okay. Motion, I think actually Amir was there. Thank you, Amir and Felix. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Now, we will get on to brief announcements from staff, commissioners, and liaison. As Carrie mentioned, we are joined this evening by, I think we can still say newly elected council member Linda Dios from the mighty District 2. Some people in my neighborhood will tell you that is the best district in the city of Davis.
Of course it is.
I don't know if there's consensus on that, but I wanted to welcome Linda and also give you an opportunity, if you'd like, to introduce yourself and say hello.
Well, I'm Linda, and I'm very happy to be here tonight, and very honored that I was given this assignment to be the liaison from City Council to here. It's one I requested, and they gave me what I wanted. For being the new kid on the block, I wasn't sure. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say and what's going on. And happy to share anything from City Council, and right now I don't have anything specifically from City Council to report back to you, but please know that I will report from you to them, between Carrie and myself. We'll know what's going on. So thank you. I'm always going to be available to you all. I've already met with Kevin to kind of go over things, and my cell phone number is on the card that when you go to see contact, that's how you reach me. So thank you very much.
Great. Well, welcome, Linda. We're happy to have you. We're missing Gloria, but we will see her in other events. If there are no probing, hard-hitting questions of our new council member, we will move on then to other announcements. I actually would like to start with one, if I might. I have a book with me tonight that I learned about only recently, thanks to my colleague Amir. The title is called, They Called Me a Lioness. It's not my book, actually. Checked it out from the Yolo County Public Library. I assume that the library chose it for their collection because it's been quite well reviewed and got a lot of complimentary statements on the cover and 5-star rating on Amazon and other places. But I understand that some people have argued, to my surprise, that if I were to like or recommend this book, I might be unfit to serve on this commission. Not because of anything in the book, mind you, but because of something that the author is alleged to have said on an Instagram post back in 2023. So, I thought I should find out more about this issue. So I did a little Google search, and I found that the alleged statement apparently attributed to the author by some government authorities has not been independently authenticated. Apparently the author's Instagram account may have been hacked or faked, and in fact the author disputes the alleged statement and denied having made it. So that was widely reported on New York Times and Associated Press and Reuters. But unfortunately, when I learned about the allegation against the author, I wasn't told that there was any uncertainty about it. It was just presented as an established fact, and it seems like it may not be the whole story, or maybe even the real story. If I said I was aware of the author's alleged statement and I said I agreed with it, that would be different than the situation that I'm describing. But what I'm talking about is simply saying that I like this book. I don't know if I actually like the book or not. I haven't had a chance to read it. But some of you know I've spent my career as a legal advocate, and I have great respect for people who advocate for issues and causes and policies that they believe in. And I'm proud to have maintained respect and friendships with people whose views have been opposed to mine. And I welcome advocates in this process, and particularly on the commission. Let's hear many voices, have good debates, listen closely, learn from each other, build bridges, work hard to make this community even stronger and more compassionate and resilient, where people are treated with dignity and everyone feels that they belong just as much as anyone else. So I'm concerned that we don't turn political disagreements into personal attacks, which I think is damaging not only to individual commissioners, but really seeks to discredit the commission as a whole, as well as the city council that appointed each of us. And it concerns me that that may in fact be what has happened to some extent already. I just want to say I'm proud to serve on this commission with all of my colleagues, each of whom volunteers their time selflessly and generously. And I would just like to close by asking my fellow commissioners, if you have a concern about any member of the commission or the public, if you have a concern about a member of the commission, please raise it with them directly. If you don't feel comfortable raising it with them directly, please raise it with me. If you don't feel comfortable raising it with me, please raise it with another commissioner. If your concerns specifically are around the area of anti-Semitism, I would encourage everyone to please inform a member of our anti-Semitism committee. If you don't know how to reach them, please write to the commission at hrc@cityofdavis.org. And thank you for allowing me to take up so much time. Other folks with announcements, statements, updates?
Yeah, I just want to say that I too learned about this, and I just want to say that I was disappointed. I think that we should all feel comfortable at this point now that if we have any issues with each other, that we can address those by speaking to each other. I know that if any one of you made a remark or something that made me feel uncomfortable, You can't hear me. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. So if anybody, I feel comfortable enough with all of you that if I felt anybody was making any remark or suggesting anything that was perceived to be offensive, or I was offended by it, I would address it with them. And I think that is the most appropriate and professional thing to do, rather than going on a public forum and I've had hate directed towards me as a member of this commission already. I've had individuals accuse me of things that I had no idea, that I was doing. I had people who didn't even bother to learn my name, yet accused me of something, couldn't be bothered to read it on the placard in front of me. These things are happening, they're happening to us, I think it goes against the spirit of the HRC, the togetherness. I think that Kevin made a great statement and covered everything that I think needed to be covered. I think that we can move forward from this and continue to work together, continue to do what we can to make this community great for everybody else. Thank you.
Thanks, Felix.
I've got two completely different things to say, and I'll do the first one is that as a representative of the DJUSD, a teacher in Davis, I want to just report that we have an excellent problem, which is there are two different DJUSD students who want to be a member of this council, this commission. And I know Sawyer Vaught is here today. Is Jasmine also here? Okay, I wanted to introduce them to each other. So we will very soon have a representative, or maybe a representative and an alternate is what we're thinking, from the Davis schools, which I think will add a lot to our conversations and benefit all of us. So I just wanted to point that out quickly. And then I will just echo what Kevin and Felix have already said. I really am excited to have a variety of viewpoints on this commission and perspectives. We all come from our own identity perspectives. We all come from our own communities who we try to bring a voice to through our work on the HRC, I think. And I would like to think this is a place where we could have hard conversations. It's very awkward to have to do it in public because of the Brown Act, but that is the situation we've gotten ourselves into. But I like to think if we could have those conversations here, it would be like a model for the larger Davis being able to have hard conversations. And I want to really try to commit that I would be happy to be a healthy and productive, to the best of my ability, member of any conversation that anybody wants to have about larger issues in the world. And I mean, some things can be agendized. Maybe we need some agendized conversations sometimes, but I think also during this announcements time, we may be able to have a little flexibility to address other things. And I felt sad about people not feeling that this is a place where we can have those conversations. And I just want to reiterate that if it was me who was commented about in public, I would really feel bad about not having been approachable, and I can only imagine that is an experience that people had. And so if anybody has something you want to say to me, I'm here for it. Bring it. Okay, those are my two comments.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, others, comments?
Kevin, I have a question. I may want to comment on the matter that you brought up, but I would like to see if I can do that during the regular item A,
You're going to have to remind me what
which is public forum on recent hate incidents in the Davis
Yes,
community.
of course.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other announcements from commissioners. Carrie, let me just check with you. Are there any staff announcements? Okay, great. Thank you so much. We will turn then to our next item, public comment. This is a time for any member of the public to address the commission on matters that are not listed on the agenda or are listed on the consent calendar. Our consent calendar tonight is only approval of the minutes. Or if there are matters on the agenda that you can't stay for, I think it would be appropriate for us to give you an opportunity to make your public comment at this point as well. So if there are folks who would like to be heard for public comment, we have, I think, about 20 or so minutes. Well, maybe not quite that much. I'm looking at the time allotments. But we will take the public comment that we have. And I see Mr. Hirsch standing. So
Surprise.
please come forward and thank you for being here.
First, I do approve the minutes. Second, what's the name of the book again?
It's called They Call Me a Lioness. Palestinian
Call Me
Girls.
Alliance.
A Lioness.
Alliance, okay.
Palestinian Girls Fight for Freedom is the subtitle.
Very good. Thank you so much. I sent you some information between sessions and whatever. And I'm also at the joint meeting on Tuesday, there was a discussion about rethinking and the mission and the strategy of the Hate-Free Davis together. I'm very encouraged by that. You can even discuss the theme. I've expressed concern about the hate-free framing of our project here. There are certainly some situations where there's a black and whiteness, but I think much of our conflict is really more nuanced. And I think more, how do we live together? How do we have civil conflict? And that's why I passed this sheet out, which basically suggests, Gandhi says, peace is not the lack of conflict, but how we hold the conflict. And I think that's a better frame of how do we have civil discourse? How do we put guardrails on it? And I offer the principle of charity, and I think that applies to so many situations, possibly the situation we're struggling with right now. I don't know what I've said in there, but I think that thing. And also, I want to point out, like, what I see happening so much in the community, and I sent you a copy of an article, and we had last week, I think last month, there was the concern about the not giving the Chabad rabbi a place to put the menorah in the public space. I mean, some of the stuff is thing, but I think there's a resentment. There's a politics of resentment. We almost walk around with chips on our shoulder, waiting for us, for our group or our individual to be offended. We're looking for it. We're primed to find it. Instead of basically when someone says something, saying, gee, what's going on? What's going on in their head? Maybe I misunderstood them. Or maybe there's another way of handling that. We can pick lots of fights. I have this hand suggesting all the different politics of grievance that we have out there. If we basically step back and say, Davis is a beloved community, and here's someone else that disagrees with me pretty gravely, and I disagree with it. Maybe I don't understand them. Maybe I just start with the principle of charity, assume that they had come with good motives, and they have thought this through, and we should approach them and have a dialogue. Try to heal it before escalating into a fight. I mean, fortunately, we are not in a situation where at war, where people are threatened daily with their life and life. We have time to do this, and I think we need to how we can de-escalate, calm things down, talk to one another, figure out what's going on, and even to agree to disagree, to hold the conflict in a productive manner. So that's what I'm suggesting, and I think the hate-free basically moves us in the wrong direction, away from the repair of the dialogue. So thank you very much, and thank you for reopening that discussion about the hate-free name.
Thank you, Alan. Others for public comment? I want to give folks a chance if they would like to come forward.
Yes.
You brought up the book before I got to. So I'm not going to say much, but I just have copies for everybody. You have yours from the library.
All right. The book will speak for itself, I guess. Thank you. Others then for public comment? I see someone coming forward. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Hi. Thank you. My name is Erica, and good evening. I'm a member of a group in town called Davis Jews for Justice. And I just wrote a few things down, some notes. I met the young author and activist Ahed Tamimi when her family hosted our Interfaith delegation in the West Bank in 2019. Nearly 30 of us camped on the floor of the Tamimi home in the village of Nabi Saleh, where we were welcomed guests. Ahed is a well-known young activist who at 16 was imprisoned after she slapped an Israeli soldier who was terrorizing her family. Her book is about life growing up as a Palestinian child under the Israeli military occupation. It's a book we can all learn from. I had spoke to our group about her activism, her imprisonment, her many family members who have been killed, maimed, tortured, imprisoned. She spoke of her aspirations to study international law so that she could help her people one day be free. She is now a law student doing just that. Ahad was imprisoned again since October 7th for supposed inflammatory social media posts. Her mother represented that Ahad had no social media account at the time. But even if she did say something angry or inflammatory, I don't know the nature of that. I know her people are being brutally killed by the thousands. Her village is slowly being stolen away from them. Do we expect Palestinian people to be more willing victims? Amir Kohl, who is of Israeli background, attempted to vilify the only Palestinian American member of a city commission by painting her as a terror supporter because of a book she liked on her personal social media page. He did this in a public meeting, presenting himself as a city commissioner. The question begs to be asked, does the city find this fitting of a commissioner on a commission that is meant to bring people together around mutual respect and understanding? And I certainly hope the answer is no. Thank you.
I want to make sure that everybody understands this is not an environment where we applaud or boo. Everyone is entitled to make their statement and to, do it without, more reaction. Okay. So thank you for that. Anyone else then for public comment? Okay, I see someone coming forward. Good evening.
Good evening, Commission. I was very curious what the issue was. So my name is Dean Johansson. I've, some metrics, lived here for over 30 years, raised 5 kids. I came here really to salute several of you that will apparently soon be leaving the empty seats, I guess I'm talking to, and you can listen to too. But there seems to be, background, part of my training, love, has been civil rights. I have been an attorney for 30 years, and civil rights, criminal defense, prosecution, over 100 jury trials. I tried to read a room. When you were talking about this controversy, I had something perked up, and I tried to read the body language. I had part of the story right. But the point is, there is an education that we lack. Irving Feiner is a name that you should all know, none of us know. 1951 Supreme Court case. He stands for the heckler's veto. It's a very, very important concept. We're taught freedom of speech, First Amendment rights, the bedrock of democracy. And the heckler's veto is exactly what I've seen going on here in Davis over and over again. I've actually watched the videos of this, Human Relations Commission from the camera. So you do have some people paying attention. Point is, the heckler's veto is, the concept is that a group, a party, will shut down freedom of speech, which goes right to the very heart of democracy. Goes right to this concept of the golden age of Pericles, the golden age of Isaiah, the idea that you should have dialogue, and this is how we reach the truth. But when you have an outside group that will use, concepts of being marginalized, and, I think it was Alan Hirsch that mentioned the concept of, wearing your, he didn't word it like this, but wearing your heart on your sleeve and closing down discussion. Anyways, I can see my time running out. I appreciate it, but these are the concepts I think we need to train ourselves with. I've been present at so many instances that have been mentioned at Farmers Market and other places. And You're entitled, I'll end right now, you're entitled to your own opinion. I honor that opinion. What you're not entitled to is your own facts. And I've been present, and the facts are not as they've been presented to you here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, is there anyone else then for public comment? Yes, I see someone coming forward. Please.
Hi,
Good evening.
I'm Daphne Ramil, and I'm going to address what Mr. Johansson said. Outside group? Who is an outside group? Are we outside group? Like the Jewish community, are we an outside group? And freedom of speech? Yes. But it doesn't mean that it's right to spread hate or hatred in speech. And that's what we're talking about. I mean, that's what we've been talking about at the HRC quite a bit. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. Everybody is entitled to say what they want to say within the law. But the Human Relations Council is supposed to have some humanity and think about the consequences of this and think about what you can do and what we all can do to stop that kind of, not to stop that kind of speech, but to address it, at least to address it. So there we are, just off the top of my head after I heard what Mr. Johansson said. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for coming. Someone else approaching? Good evening, welcome.
My name is Reem Alder-Schmalley. I'm a longtime community member here, and I'm also carrying this book to make a point. Dima Tamimi is a Palestinian-American woman on this commission. When people, especially people who have come, who have caused harm to our community, it's very hard to listen to this when we're talking about freedom of speech. Palestinians in this community are faced every day with people looking at them, calling them terrorists, bringing up names, which our community, this is not just started now, but it's been around. And we are proud to have a Palestinian American community member on this commission. Secondly, I've been approached by people in this room who formerly served with the IDF, who have told me, I'm coming here to be away from that violence. And I'm here in Davis, and I don't want to see that violence, meaning those of us who are speaking up against the state of Israel. My family, a lot of our families have been killed. We've lost so many family members. We have people who are feared for their lives every day. And we're not supposed to speak up because that's violent. And then to have one of our community members, I honestly hadn't planned to speak tonight. I wanted to be in the audience just to be here, to be supportive. But honestly, people have been killed from our family members, shot. My daughter, who's always told that she looks like Ahad Tamimi because, she has curly, fair skin, curly hair, had to have guns and machine guns in her face when we went to visit family members by IDF members who forced violence on every single member of my family. And then to be here in Davis and be told that raising our freedom of speech rights, raising our voices in this community is violent, is supporting terrorism, that is ridiculous. And we hope we're not book burners here either. Because I think just as we have a right, this book is at the avid reader, it's at the library. I'm sorry, if one of our community members wants to say, go read a book and educate yourselves, she should be able to do that without being referred to as a terrorist or having inferences that she's a terrorist or terrorist supporter. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else then for public comment? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Anne. I didn't plan on speaking here tonight either. But after I heard just a little while ago what Daphne, I can't remember her last name, spoke out about hate speech, my concern is exactly that hate speech happened before the city council when Mr. Cole said what he did about one of the HRC members. Freedom of speech is one thing. I'm an attorney. I very much support freedom of speech. but harassment and statements that aren't even factual go far beyond. And I think hate speech occurred. I would like to see the HRC actually censor the member who did this at City Council, or suspend, or whatever is possible, because it's not okay. I mean, hopefully, as some of you have said, we all come here to learn from each other. We respect each other, we treat each other with dignity, and I don't think that happened at the City Council meeting. And I'm hoping, going forward, that we can all learn from that. It won't happen here, and there will be some sort of consequence for a hate speech that occurred at City Council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming.
I didn't plan to speak either, but Linda, when you were campaigning, I contacted you many times saying, there's a huge issue breaking up our community, can we talk about it? There was another city council candidate who also was running, and I reached out to him and I said, this is tearing our community apart. What are you going to do when you get on the council, if you get on the council? He said, that's across the world. It's not going to come here and bother us. Well, here it is, and you're the liaison. I don't know what the answer is to address what happened. You should never have done that. I'm an attorney too. That's called an ad hominem attack. You attacked my friend, this beautiful woman who is representing something that's tearing our little community apart. So I'm Jewish also. I can pass as not, but I'm Jewish. And I would just like to say, I don't know what the censure is. I don't know whether it's that. And maybe there should be some guidelines so that this never happens again. It's nice to say, let's talk to each other, but do you guys know how? I mean, there are some ways to do it. This is my friend here too. I don't think you're going to continue sitting here because some of this internal stuff, I don't want to serve on a committee like this, but I feel like I should volunteer. But after seeing this, I really don't need that kind of stress. So something, guidelines. I don't know about censure, but please don't ever do that again. And please work together so that it doesn't happen again. And I'm sorry that it happened to you.
Okay. Thank you for your comment. If someone else is coming forward, please, welcome.
Hi, my name is Annie. I wasn't going to comment today either, but I feel called to. I have been the subject of an HRC meeting. I am a Jewish person. I am married to a Palestinian. Dima is the other Jewish-Palestinian family. She's married to a Jewish man. They're both very lovely, peace-loving people. And I've been the subject of being called not Jewish enough, a Jew for Jesus, all these different things to discredit who I am for standing up for human rights. And I find it absolutely horrid that someone would go in a public forum and say anything about this lovely human who is one of the most peaceful humans I've ever met. I think it's wrong. I think it was petty. I think if we went through anyone's, including his social media, we could find some people that potentially said some problematic things, and if we want to stoop to that low level, it's not going to get us anywhere. So, that's all.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. I don't think I see anyone else coming forward for public comment, so I think we will, oh, no, I stand corrected. I'm sorry, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Lale Rastagarzadeh, 12 years member of the Davis community, and I just heard about what's going on tonight about 5 minutes ago, and I rushed here. And it's very upsetting to learn that what's happening. I share the sentiments of many of the commenters. It's more than anything, it's upsetting because we are living in a world that we've been always, many times we came to this podium and other places in our city and we said that we are proud to be in Davis because we are so open-minded. We create a platform for freedom of speech. And I got to know Dima through last year and a half. And any gathering that I've been there and I met Dima, she hasn't promoted anything but peaceful, understanding each other, and none of the things that is coming right now and accusing, her being accused are true. That's how I learned and know Dima. And it's very upsetting that we, as the other commenter said, if we go and search to all our postings and sayings, we may find something that maybe can dig deeper and accuse each other. But this is not ours. This is not Davis. This is not our community. And this is not the world we are wishing for and we are fighting for.
Okay, thank you. Someone else? Good evening.
This seems a little bit like a popularity contest, so I'm going to speak and say that I think Amir is also a beautiful, lovely, peace-loving person, and he is here giving his time also to try and make sure that there's less hate speech and anti-Semitism, as well as other kinds of hate in Davis. And I think I would like everyone to understand, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit crazy how this is not just a time for friends and family to come and speak. I think we have an enormous problem with anti-Semitism in Davis, as well as at UC Davis. Dima has been very, very active. She has family. I would say war is a horrible thing. It would be great to avoid war in the future. And she did organize quite a number of events that I view as upsetting and anti-Semitic and full of lies. So you guys can judge people's actions, and obviously people have agendas here. And I don't know if that's something you want on the Human Rights Commission. Support for Hamas, Hezbollah, PFLP, comparing Jews to Nazis, stalking Jews in the community, criminal vandalism on campus should not be supported by anyone. We should fight against hate speech, and I think I would encourage this group to focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Let's have someone else. Good evening, welcome.
Hello, I'm Catherine Brinkley. I've served with Dima Tamimi on a number of commissions, including the Downtown Planning Commission, working on food and economic development. She has served this community with an open heart. I hope that the Human Relations Commission carefully considers protocols for when there are interpersonal conflicts so that they're not unduly escalated. And I would also just say, if there are commissioners who are appointed with lots of, I'm thinking of student voices, vulnerable student voices, who've come out and said that they felt personally, physically, and verbally threatened, that is problematic to have on the Human Relations Commission. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. Someone else? Good evening.
Hello, I'm Micah. It's my first time at one of these meetings. I've been in Davis for about 6 years, and I just wanted to say that the encampments at UC Davis, I visited twice, and one of the times was to attend a Shabbat service, and that, you know, Jews are overrepresented at these encampments against the genocide, and yeah, I just wanted to say that it was a lovely experience, and I'm Jewish.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else then for public comment this evening? There are opportunities, obviously, later on the agenda for public comment on other items, but if there are no other folks wishing to come forward for public comment, we will close this agenda item, move then to item number 5, which is our consent calendar. The item on the consent calendar is simply the meeting minutes, approval of the minutes from the last meeting. So comment on the meeting minutes is also appropriate and welcome. If anyone has any comment on the previous meeting minutes, otherwise I would ask our commission members if there are any kind of changes to the minutes as drafted, and if not, if we are ready to approve.
Just a correction on the civil rights ordinance process. And again, listed my name as one of the subcommittee members, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Felix.
No problem. I mean, I'll take the credit, but.
I cannot get that one right, my apologies. All right, I'll make it.
You wanted to. All right, thank you, Felix. Any other revisions to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
And then moves, is there a second? Edgar seconds. All those in favor then signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. Minutes are approved, and we are on then to our next item 6, and we have 6A, which is our public forum on recent hate incidents in Davis community. As some of you may know, this is a standing item that we have had for some time on each meeting, each regular meeting of the Human Relations Commission. And this is an opportunity to hear from the public as well as members of the commission regarding any recent hate incidents or concerns in the Davis community. And so I want to, with that introduction, invite folks to come forward if they would like to speak on this, and then we will bring it back to the dais and have some further conversation. I see Mr. Hirsch. Good evening, Alan. Welcome.
Thank you for approving the minutes. There in the farmer's market, there is a booth that's been there chronically for 6 or 7 years. It attacks some of the basic values of Davis. It attacks the core of the university. It talks about conspiracy of the scientists and the world thinkers. It's the flat earth. And we laugh at it. It's kind of funny. People come and talk about it. But it's a conspiracy. He voted for Trump and he holds these views very deeply. But we don't take it very seriously. And that's the way I think sometimes we should handle some hate speech and some things. Instead of taking a small incident and raising it up and inflamed and getting in protest or whatever, we should just look at it and say, oh, that's interesting. This is a very strange person who has a problem. I think the community is very apt to basically overreact to some individual small incidents, to look for things and to basically to fit it into an other narrative. I think Beth Bourne was a small individual who had nothing until other people pointed to her and she was useful to create a sense of fear and hate in the community. And we made her a very important person, I think, by overreacting to her. She would have never won the lawsuit if someone hadn't confronted her and we had to shut it down. She had just been put in the booth with her 10 or 15 followers. I think she would have been ignored, not been the figure she's become at Davis. And I'm concerned we do this with other things. There was a booth in the farmer's market, and he has cartoons that I think were pretty obnoxious, and I would say definitely anti-Semitic. They had Netanyahu riding the back of Trump in terms of implying that Jews control the world. That's an anti-Semitic, absolutely. But it's just one man. I've seen him a long time. He's really nobody. Nobody listens to him. He's kind of strange. He has an Istanbul, not to disparage him, but he's kind of strange. And he voted for Trump, but he does all this stuff, so he's incoherent. And what's the best way to handle this thing? I know some of my Jewish colleagues want to make a big thing and make he's emblematic of the entire Davis Jewish community. I think people like that should be put a circle around, and he's nobody. He's a very small number. He's not emblematic of our entire community. So I'm concerned that we basically take small incidents and we blow them up, and the opponents blow them up to basically create more fear and more anxiety in our community. I think we need to be careful of that. Because it leads into this again, it's like the politics of grievance. We're looking for things, we have a chip on the shoulder, we're looking for someone who's going to basically prove that we are aggrieved and we are terrible and we are victims. I think we need to calibrate our reaction to things. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, are there other folks who would like to address this public forum on recent hate incidents in the Davis community? I'm always happy to see like little or no concerns about hate incidents, but I want to make sure that everyone's given an opportunity to be heard. See someone coming forward. Welcome.
I'm Sarah Mitchell. I was going to speak on something else, but something that I've been noticing at my kids' school and hearing is that during recess and lunch, there's a lot more racism that's coming forward, homophobia, Islamophobia, everything that's coming out. And it's affecting the kids when they're going to school because they're hearing these things, they want to say something, but it's hard when you don't have adults to facilitate these bigger conversations. So I don't know if kids are hearing more of this at home, and so they feel emboldened to say things on the campuses, but just so you're aware, it's happening not just at my kids' elementary school, but I've talked to many parents, and it seems to be happening all throughout Davis Joint Unified School District. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming. Are there others then who would like to be heard on this item? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. Carrie, have we received any written public comment that would be relevant to this?
No, we haven't.
Thank you. All right, well then, let's bring it back to the dais. I don't know if there is a need or desire for further conversation on this item, but let me just open it up.
I'll go really quick with one. I don't know if this counts as hate action or hate speech, but I'm going to say it does. I know that there was an ICE arrest in Davis last week. It was a parent of an elementary school student. And I think what I really just want to say about that is that I'm really proud of how our community has responded. I know that the NorCal Resist communication line was active very quickly. The YOLO Interfaith Immigration Network, YIN, came together to raise money for the family to help pay their rent, as now their primary breadwinner is not going to be earning any money. And I heard about it so fast, and so many people jumped into action so fast to try to support the family in this situation. And so it was a moment of being really disappointed that now we're seeing evidence in Davis of increased ICE activity. I actually don't know if that's increased ICE activity. I'm not exactly sure what it was before. It's much more publicly available, the information about it now, which I'm grateful for. But I'm glad to see that we're ready. We're ready to respond in any way that we possibly can.
Thank you for that, Lainey.
I'd like to speak.
Please.
I asked to speak during the hate incidents because honestly, I think what happened last week at City Council felt like hate directed at me. And today, one of the comments that was said here about me also felt like hate. So I want to say a few things. I wasn't really sure the best way to respond to all of this, and I want to say that I'm grateful for the responses from my fellow commissioners and those of you in the community who came here to speak, but also have had a lot of conversations with over the last week. I'm not going to add too much about the comments that were made about me, other than to say that for me, one of the things that I found most disturbing was that someone who came to speak at the city council meeting that night came to speak on a completely unrelated matter. And then they started their comment by noting that they were shaken by what they had heard. This made me deeply sad. It made me sad to see that new fears and divisiveness is being sown right in this place where we were hoping to alleviate fear and not stir up and create new fear. I also want to say that I stand by my recommendation of the book, They Called Me a Lioness, by Ehed Tamimi and Dina Takruri. It is an important and moving book, as I said in my post, for people to read not only in this critical time for Palestine, but also for this critical time here in the United States and in our local communities Ahed Tamimi, in her life and in her recollection of her teen years, demonstrates courage. If you read the book, you'll probably note that she probably wouldn't like me using those words, because she sees her actions as simply those of a person trying to survive and live in dignity under a cruel and relentless occupation. But I believe she's brave, even if she shouldn't have to be brave. And I shared this book and her story in part because I believe people need to gain a better understanding of the everyday struggles of Palestinians. But also because we are in a time of great turmoil here, in our local communities, where our rights and the rights of our neighbors, family, and friends are under attack. We have a duty to speak up, to protect the most vulnerable in our communities, and it's great to hear that we're doing that, to fight fascism, corporate greed, and white supremacy, which is now being platformed and emboldened in dangerous ways in this country. We need to be brave, like Ahed, her family, and countless other activists who put their lives on the line every day for justice and collective liberation. You must do this too, so I wholeheartedly recommend this book. If you care about justice and you want to see a better world, whether that means across the world or in our small Davis community, and they are connected, this book will teach you about organizing, resiliency, community, and standing up for justice against all odds. So please, do read it. And please be brave. That's it.
I'm going to remind you guys again. We're not doing that. Okay. Thank you, Dima. Anyone else then who wants to address Enter, please?
So I've been giving this a lot of thought. And what bothers me is that, we are entering into a scary new world. And I think that there's clearly been a lot of hate and a lot of people have been hurt. And I think how we decide to channel all of this energy has to be done in an extremely productive way. The HRC, in my mind, is a project. Democracy, we're seeing right now, is being tested as a project. We took it for granted because my generation, other generations, have lived in it, thinking that it was stable, thinking that it couldn't be disturbed, fractured, broken apart, but it can. And it's all of us who really want to try to respect the project and adhere to it that allow us to be able to dialogue with each other, talk to each other, hear each other, talk about our hurt. The HRC was once removed as a commission. Not everybody knows about that. Because there were reasons that they thought it was unnecessary. And then it was brought back. I think right now, we're testing the HRC as our own project. As members, we have to be able to stand up for what we advocate for, obviously, but we also have to respect the process and the collegiality of all of us being here. We have to respect that everybody's voice matters and that we each have an opportunity to state what bothers us, but also respect the other person's ability to sit in their seat and speak theirs. So where do we go from here? I'm not gonna be the one that decides if the actions that happened were disqualifying. I'm not. I think we have an opportunity to test the HRC to see if there is an opportunity so that we can actually prove to the community why this commission is even here, and can we actually listen to each other and build more bridges than tear them down. And in my opinion, asking someone to be removed from the commission is not productive. So I hope we can move forward, and I hope we can build a bridge, and I hope we can continue a dialogue, because I think there is a lot of room, because this is truly testing us to see if we can actually believe that this HRC project should be here. Because if we can't exist here together, then the HRC shouldn't be here.
Thank you, Edgar.
May I go one more time? Okay.
There's no limit.
You know, I told everybody we all need to be brave, so I'm going to be brave. One of the reasons why I said that I felt what has been thrown at me feels like hate is because multiple people have implied coming up to the podium, or in other cases when we didn't have a podium, in other rooms where we had this meeting, have implied that I'm either anti-Semitic or that I am a sympathizer with terrorism and that I'm a supporter of terrorist activities. It happened right here, so you all heard it. That to me is racist. It is racist to say because I care about Palestinians that I am therefore anti-Semitic. It is racist to say that because I care about Palestinians, I am somehow a fan of terror and killing innocent people. That is all I've ever done in my activism, has said that all people should not be killed, all innocent people should not be killed. They should not be killed by armies. They should not be systematically oppressed. I stand by that. I have no qualms, 100% standing by that, and I know in my heart that I am not anti-Semitic, and I have no love for terror, and I have no love for violence against innocent people. And what I'd like is, if we want to try to make this experiment work, when people come to the podium and you call someone anti-Semitic, tell me why and how. How am I anti-Semitic? Throwing out names just to slander people and silence them is not okay. And we're hearing it throughout this town. We're hearing from people that they can't say what they want to say because they might be called anti-Semitic, but they have none of that in their heart. If you're going to come and say that someone is, if you're going to name call, back it up. Tell me how I'm anti-Semitic. Tell me how I'm a pro-terror person. That would make this much more capable of being something where we can have conversations. But the name calling, please stop it. And please stop threatening people with it. Because it's stopping the city from being able to do its work. It's stopping people from being able to go to work and feel whole because they can't speak their mind. Please stop weaponizing that. I think a lot of people see through it now. And if you really want to have dialogue, you need to stop using those terms and shutting down conversation by scaring people with words that none of us want to be. None of us want to be anti-Semitic. None of us are. Well, that's not true. There is anti-Semitism in the world, and I am wholeheartedly opposed to hate of anyone just because they're Jewish. But please don't equate someone caring for Palestinians or Arabs or Muslims
as being anti-Semitic. That is what multiple people came to one of our meetings and essentially said that because we cared about Palestinians and Arabs and Muslims, we were anti-Semitic, or we were doing something horrible. We can understand that logic. That doesn't make sense. You can love Palestinians and you can love Jewish people, and I do. So please stop weaponizing these terms.
Thank you. All right, is there further discussion among the commission on this item regarding recent hate incidents? Seeing none, I want to bring this item then to a close. Thank you all for being here and for your comments. Not easy stuff. Not easy stuff. Okay, we are going to keep moving on then. The next item on the agenda is the Tonghai Win Awards. Folks may recall or have read in the minutes that we dealt with this issue last month where we discussed the process and the timeline and approved those items. What we weren't able to do was to constitute the committee at that point. We had some absences and some folks who were interested in having that issue taken up tonight. So that's what we're doing here at this item. And before we get to a commission discussion of this, let me just invite any public comment that there might be with that introduction. Not a big public comment item, but I wanted to make sure that if you wanted to come forward to speak on this. Okay, so I believe based on the conversations that we've had in the past, there were a number of folks who were volunteered to serve on this committee. My recollection, there was Amir, Felix, Edgar, and Ellie. And is that still the case? Okay. Okay, so then what we need to do is to take a vote on this. The way we handle that is to take the paper that you have here, and we can only have 3. I guess I just make that clear. Under the Brown Act, no committee can include more than a quorum or a quorum of the members of the commission. So our committees are limited to 3 members. And since we've got 4 folks happily that wish to serve on the committee, what we need to do is to decide which 3 will be serving on the committee. And as I say, the way we do that is to just write the names of the folks that you want. Terry will collect them, and then we will read out, Terry will read out the result. Connor.
So I know last time we discussed like whether all 4 people were actively interested versus just like being willing to. So I just want to confirm first that like all 4 people are actively interested versus if anyone is like wants to like remove themselves from consideration essentially.
Oh, okay, yes, that's what I thought I was asking, but thank you for clarifying. Okay, I'm seeing nodding heads.
Yeah, actively interested.
Yeah, okay, good.
I wasn't here last time, but yes, I served on it before. I want to serve on it.
Right, no, you did a great cover, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure,
I
Ellie.
can vote.
Actually, I think Ellie, being an alternate, since we have all of our voting members here, Ellie would not vote. Is that, Carrie, can you confirm?
Yes, that is correct. Our alternates and our ex officios are not eligible to vote. Sorry, Ellie, it is because we've got everybody here.
Right, okay. Okay, so with that, we will go
Let me
ahead.
just clarify this, I'm sure it's a moot point, but there's nothing about an alternate, though, that makes her not as an equal opportunity employer for the committee, right?
That is correct. Kevin asked me to check on that as well. Because Ellie is here and could be a voting member, if somebody wasn't to be here, then that is why. And I just want to clarify, Kevin, are you asking everybody to vote for 3 names or
Yes.
just 1 name?
I'm sorry. Yes, I should have made that more clear. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, if you would just write your 3 folks that you would vote to have on the committee, then we will go ahead and collect those, and Carrie will read out the result.
And I assume people are welcome to vote for themselves since they want to be on the committee. Is that accurate?
Actually, I guess theoretically, you can vote for anybody. Even if you
can
haven't.
vote for anybody.
Yeah, theoretically, I guess. That might complicate things, but
I see what you're doing.
When you guys
I'm not going to limit anybody's vote in any way.
I'll come collect them when you guys are ready. Is this yours? Do I have everybody's?
Anybody else?
I'll just need a moment to tally these up real quick. Kevin, we're
Yes.
ready.
Okay. Carrie has compiled our ballots.
The subcommittee will be made up of Felix, Ellie, and Edgar.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for who's willing to.
Actually, I think we probably need a vote of
Oh,
some sort.
yes, you're right. Before I'll thank everybody, but then we'll go to a vote. That is you wanted then another additional vote to ratify the balloting. Okay, all those in favor of the ratification of the ballots, the decisions, or the announcement that Carrie just made?
I'm going to ask somebody to make a motion, please.
That would be a good
I
idea.
would like to motion, did we ever create okay, we do it in 2 separate slates, right? I would like to motion that we create a subcommittee to review Tom Kai-Quinn nominations and choose the recipients of the Tom Kai-Quinn Award.
Actually, last meeting, you already determined that you were going to make a subcommittee, so you can
I
just
would
jump
like
right
to
into the...
Suggest that the members of that committee would be Ellie, Edgar, and Felix per vote of the commissioners.
Thank you to Carrie and Laney for covering up my procedural messes. Is there a second then for the motion?
I'll second.
Second by Dima. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Amir abstains? Okay, the motion carries. I will repeat my thanks to all of the folks who have volunteered and to our committee, and looking forward to the good work that you will be doing. that, and Carrie, would you just remind us, I think it might be useful at this point, when is the deadline for submission of nominations? March 17th?
March 17th, and we are actively collecting nominations and really could use some additional ones.
Okay. And that
I'm going to
inform-
call out to everyone in this room.
Okay, yes, by all means. And that information is actually available on our website, right? Okay. Well, thank you for that, and that is a great segue then to our next agenda item, which is 6C, webpage review. And this is an item that we have had on our long-range agenda for a period of time that actually predates my involvement with the commission. Because there's sort of been a sense that maybe we haven't done everything that we might want to do or could do with the commission's webpage to provide sort of further information or maybe make it more interactive or whatever. So that is the item for discussion this evening, is whether there is interest in reviewing that webpage, and if so, potentially creating a subcommittee to provide any recommended suggestions, revisions, etc. Obviously, anything that we do would have to be carried out by the city, and I don't know who the keepers of the city web pages are, but whoever they are, we would want to work closely with them to make sure that any recommendations we made were feasible. So let me, at this point, before we have any sort of discussion among the commission members on this, invite any public comment on this issue. This is the creation of, or our webpage in general, or potentially the creation of a subcommittee to review the content and other issues around that webpage. Okay. Seeing none, let me bring it back to Dias. Carrie, you're not able to display the web page on the screen, are you?
Sure, I'll just need a minute.
Okay. I think it might be helpful just to maybe give us a visual while we're having this conversation. And just while we're waiting for that to come up, I do recall that there, I think it was our last meeting, there was discussion about how we might help facilitate folks who want to raise issues regarding hate incidents or hate crimes. Connor chaired a committee on that issue, and it was suggested that maybe our webpage might be a way to do that. And Carrie has the page now open. Thank you. I'm actually going to put it on the screen thing here. I can make it work. And let me just ask then if there are comments, questions, suggestions. We have some folks on the commission who actually know their way around these issues far better than I do, I will confess. But you can see right now that the commission's page on the city's website is pretty bare bones. It has the statement about the purpose of the commission. It has the committee's membership and a way to contact the commission and the staff. And then, basically just a link to the enabling resolution, Principles of One Community, which we have done, I think, in concert with the university, and then a link, a little blurb about Hate Free Together. But otherwise, pretty static and not super informative, in my humble opinion. I don't know how it compares to other city human relations commissions. I suspect it's never going to be the most dynamic webpage that anybody might see. But I think we might be able to do more to make it more informative. For instance, like, I'm not seeing here the Tom High Wind thing, which I thought it was here, but maybe it's on the,
Newsletter.
oh, is it?
It was in the first page.
It's on the first, like the landing page of the city, or the city's homepage.
Oh, that one.
Maybe, no?
I don't see it on there. On our actual Human Relations Commission page.
Yeah, I think it,
Does it mention it in the bullet points?
Whatever page was right before this, it was right there.
yeah, I think it's the city's homepage, right?
Right now, it's on the homepage because we're collecting applications, so we certainly could, let me show you the Tom Highland page just for your reference.
And while you're doing that, could I just clarify, the point of this discussion item, I would assume would probably be to create a subcommittee, not for every single one of us to tell you right now the things that we think should be different about the website, right? So I did want to say something in relation, which is if we are going to, which I think we probably should, have the subcommittee finally happen, we got an email this week from Catherine Brinkley, who's in the audience, mentioning related to the City of Davis website and the way the history of the City of Davis is portrayed on the City of Davis website. And I wonder if we're going to go ahead and create a subcommittee for this, would we want to expand it to look at the city's website as well in relation to issues that the Human Relations Commission attends to? And the other place I could see, I mean, I think that's important work that we ought to consider doing, and if not as part of this subcommittee, maybe we want to bring back the land, we had intended to bring back a land acknowledgement subcommittee that could be like brought in to be like City of Davis and Potwin relations or something like that, where we could, again, look at how we could ask the city council to not just do a land acknowledgement, but maybe also use that as a moment to educate the public about something about the, or whatever else we could do to make the land acknowledgement less performative and a little more authentic. And so I wonder if I feel like that would fit, looking at the larger city website and the way the history of the City of Davis is portrayed, and maybe just perusing all of it for just with our particular lens. I would like to either put that in this subcommittee, or I would like us to be really clear that maybe we're adding to our next meeting, reopening the land acknowledgement, but broadening that to be like City of Davis Potwin relations or something like that. That's my comment.
Great, thank you. Dima?
I like that because I think it's, just looking at the website, I'm fairly certain that unless we like completely add a new website, we're going to be sort of restricted to certain things that we can do, which is totally fine. But we will probably only be able to update like text and things like that, which I think we should do and make sure that it has all the things that we want on there for when anybody wants to come just to understand the commission. But I like the idea of adding in a layer of looking across and also kind of putting a HRC lens to other pages. I think that's a nice way of having that subcommittee have a little bit more meat to what it's working on.
Yeah, so as is often the case with these meetings recently, Lainey brought up a lot of the points that I was interested in bringing up. So I also was going to comment on the written public comment that we received about the city's page and how it relates to land acknowledgement, because I also remember that we kind of discussed continuing that conversation, that we were going to support the kind of standard land acknowledgement, but also possibly further these types of ideas in the future. So I think during long range, that is something to potentially consider, is another subcommittee on continuing the conversation around land acknowledgement. But yeah, for the website itself, I'm also in favor of kind of taking a broader view of things on the city website that are related to this commission, as opposed to just directly the commission's website. And I wonder if, because as was kind of just mentioned, the official HRC webpage is maybe more about the logistics of the HRC, if there could possibly be a community resources type of page that is related to these types of topics that the HRC is very much involved in, that is linked to from the HRC webpage. They'll also possibly link to from other parts of the website as well. And if that's a way to kind of bring in these broader HRC-related issues while still keeping the official HRC website as kind of the standard commission logistical aspects. And I think part of this could be related to the committee on addressing hate incidents, which there will be a brief report back on when that item comes up.
Okay. So I'm hearing that there might be interest in taking on this issue. Are there others who'd like to sort of address the question of whether we should do it or not? You know, without getting into, as I've been properly reminded, not getting into colors or fonts or things we might like about the website or not. That's the charge that we would give to our committee. But further thoughts, comments on whether that might be useful enterprise? It sounds like there's consensus on that. All right. Then, by way of process, we would need a motion to create the committee, and then we'll discuss membership of the committee. So is there a motion to create a committee to look at the website and or advise on other issues on the city's webpage that might benefit from some feedback from the HRC?
I'm going to make a motion to create the subcommittee that Kevin just so eloquently
Okay.
described.
Felix moves.
I'll
Ellie
second the
seconds, and
motion.
Dina seconds. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Linda?
I just want to point out that the website is, the city's website is going under development. I mean, there's going to be something new coming out very soon. And so I don't know the timeline of that exactly. Well, that was one of the things I was told when I came on board, is that a new one is coming. So if there are comments you would like to be doing sooner versus later, would be my advice to you in that regard.
So you're saying right now is a great time for us to get in there and talk about
Like
it.
now. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Linda. Appreciate that update. Okay, let's then ask whether there are folks who are willing to plunge into this task. I know we've got a lot of committees going. People have been very generous with their time and efforts. But I think this is a good one. So I want to ask if there might be people who have a little bit of bandwidth to use an internet term that I think is appropriate here. And see if we got anyone who would like to volunteer.
I'm not sure I have a lot of bandwidth, but I will volunteer.
Thank you, Dima. I think you know something about this. Your expertise would be valuable. Are there others?
I don't need to be on it, just putting that out there, but I'm willing. I think the work should be done, and at the risk of getting in trouble at home for being on a fourth subcommittee, I'm interested if nobody else wants to fight me for it.
We get to have tea together.
Yeah. Who else wants tea?
Okay. We
And
can
there
have a
can
third
be a
member.
committee of just two, just.
We can, I just want to say we can have a third member.
We definitely can.
I'll come for tea. Sure.
All right, Felix, thank you. Okay, we've got three. I don't want to cut off anybody, but that would be.
Can I make a comment?
Please, okay.
So, I mean, I think this is great. I love that the HRC is going to work on an administrative thing. Let's just do it as efficiently as possible, just 'cause I feel like we have so much we have to deal with. You know, I feel like we've done other projects in the past that have just taken way too long. since now that we know the website's under, let's just get it done and let's move on. That's my opinion.
Words of wisdom from our veteran commissioner. Thank you. I think we would all agree.
May I make another comment? Before the committee gets too far, I think it would be important for us to touch base with our communications department to figure out what actually needs to be in a certain spot for a certain reason and what things, you know, could happen, or, you know, could be changed or added to. I would hate for anybody to go so far down a path and then realize that there are, for whatever reason, certain reasons that, you know, things need to stay. So, you know, we can certainly work to set up that kind of meeting if you'd like.
I think that'd be great. Thank you.
And Carrie, can you just remind me what would be, if we wanted to really crowdsource ideas from the entire commission, what would be the Brown Act responsible way? Can you send an email to all of us and people just reply just to you with anything that they've already noticed, just so we have a sort of a place to start to be efficient, like Edgar is mentioning?
I think that if you are doing that, you really do need to do it at a full meeting. I mean, I can always send out, would you guys have something that you want shared in terms of an event or something like that? I'm happy to share it out. But if you're gonna, otherwise it might violate Brown Act in terms of sort of like a daisy chain type email thing. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
You know, one thought I had is that if you wanted to come up with some questions or something and everybody responded to those, I could calculate them or, you know, tabulate them and then bring them back to the next meeting so you all discuss them in public so that all of our, you know, our public is aware of everything that has been shared and discussed, so then we could come out, put it out that way.
Proving once again how valuable our staff support is. Thank you, Carrie, for the good idea. Okay, I think we need a motion and a second then to compose the committee of Fema, Lorraine, and Felix, unless there's anyone else. And I would entertain that motion.
I'll motion that.
Okay, Connor moves, Ellie seconds, and
Can I second?
yeah, you can second.
I can second, I just can't vote. All right.
Unless you don't want to say.
No, I do.
I may have just read you.
Enthusiastically want to say. I didn't know I was allowed. Now I have more power.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, both of which are authorized, and if there's no further discussion, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And the motion carries. Thank you very much. And I'm thrilled that this item is now been assigned to a very esteemed committee. Okay, speaking of committees, and we will now then turn to committee updates. We have a number of active committees, and this is, we've set aside the next 30 minutes, which will take us right until 8:30 if we're efficient, to hear reports from our various committees. And I want to leave the opportunity for public comment, so if I screw that up and move too fast, as I sometimes do, someone please remind me. The first item.
Public comment on all of them right now.
You want to do public comment on all of them right now?
Yes.
Sure. Why don't we?
On all of them.
Why don't we do that? That's a very expeditious way to keep me out of trouble. This is committee updates. They are bullet pointed on your agenda. If there is anyone who would like to speak to any of the items there with respect to those committees, please come forward.
Let's make sure the public can see the list of all the committees.
Sure. Yep, I think they're up on the screen. And I see someone coming forward. Welcome.
Yeah, I was gonna wait till you got to the last one on Sanctuary City, but we'll jump in. So I'm hoping that you all will encourage the City Council to reaffirm our Sanctuary City resolution. It's already been reaffirmed once, I can't remember the exact year, but it first passed when I was in law school here at UC Davis. And I think right now it's very timely to reaffirm it. ASUCD students have asked both the city and UC Davis to reaffirm sanctuary resolutions. I don't know if you've read their resolution, but it has a lot of really good points in it. I'm an immigration defense attorney, just for those of you who don't know, probably most of you know that. And thank you, Lainey, for pointing out the arrest that happened last Friday. I'm helping with that as well. But those sorts of arrests are starting to happen throughout California. I heard of another one that just happened in Santa Rosa, similarly, with somebody, no record, ICE came in and picked them up, okay? And I think that's going to be happening more and more in our communities, and we need to make sure that not only are our officials following our sanctuary law, state law, SB 54, but also that our city officials, including our police chief, also realizes that this is happening, and sometimes what is said to him to justify such arrest isn't always true. And isn't always documented at all. So we're hoping that we will get even more cooperation on that, so we have more protections provided for community members here in Davis. Because people here are living in fear right now. I've heard of one woman that even before this happened, hadn't, after executive orders came out targeting immigrants, that hadn't left her home for about 3 weeks. She has kids going to school in Davis. So other people, since this arrest has happened, have become even more fearful and afraid to go out of their houses, afraid to go to work, afraid to take their kids to school, pick up their kids from school, are starting to wonder what's going to happen to their children if ICE comes and picks them up as well. So I think reaffirming this Sanctuary City resolution is one step in the right direction, and I'm hoping you will all support that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Others who would like to be heard on the item 6D, the committee reports. Okay. Seeing none, let me take it back to the dais then, and we will turn first to Edgar with the Campus Council on Community and Diversity, if there's any report there.
I mean, I'm glad Michael is here. I was at the last CCC&D meeting. One of the discussion points, and maybe Michael, if you want to back me up on any of it, there was a significant discussion on the land acknowledgement, and it was always very timely, just because I think we were having our discussion as well, and so I think there's an opportunity here to maybe create a closer dialogue between what the university is doing and how far they've already moved, and to see how the city can learn from how UC Davis has already proceeded. And I don't know, Michael, would you like to say anything about that? Because I was pretty impressed.
Sure. We've created a draft policy that would provide guidance in engaging with tribal communities, not just in interest in drafting the land acknowledgement, but the importance in terms of what it means to create relationships as part of the process in drafting the land acknowledgement. So happy to share that guidance that currently is in review, that will be a resource addendum to the policy that we are creating, so that at the minimum it could provide some guidance in terms of how the city would like to approach in terms of creating the land acknowledgement.
Awesome, thank you for that and for the good work. Anything further than Edgar or Michael?
That's it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. Let's turn then to city holiday observances. This is Connor and Amir and Lainey and Kate Snow. Is there any further update? I think we are just waiting for survey stuff, maybe.
Connor, I'll let you go first in case I say what you were going to say.
On this item, I defer to you.
I think we were mostly waiting to see if we are going to be able to have access to the data from the survey that was put out by the city, and I don't know if we heard back about that.
Jenny hasn't put it out yet. I think she's starting with the interfaith communities first.
Okay.
And I think that's still to come. Things have been busy.
So I think we're sort of a quietly bubbling subcommittee that doesn't need to report anymore right now. Amir, do you agree?
Okay, great. Anyone else then to comment on that item? Okay, then let's move right along to the civil rights ordinance process. Last meeting, we approved the recommendations and proposal to the city with respect to the civil rights ordinance. The committee now has turned to what process it might consider to make that complaint process available under the ordinance, including potentially some kind of basic form by which people could let us know when they have issues, and we will be coming back with a proposal, I think, at the next meeting. But at this point, that's where we are, I believe. Ellie or Edgar, anything that I overlooked? Okay. Okay, then let's move ahead to a very exciting and highly active committee, I think, which is the Cesar Chavez celebration. Connor, Dima, and Edgar.
Sure, we can, so we, and Carrie back me up, I don't have my notes on. We have a date? Yes? We have a location? We have a backup location.
For rain.
What's it?
In case it rains.
In case it rains, because last year it rained, and our Cesar Chavez Day celebration, along with other big community events, got canceled last year, which was a shame. We are working on our list of performers, speakers, tablers. So we've actually made a lot of headway. I'm pretty impressed. And so with all the construction that's happening in Central Park, we've been able to pivot and still utilize Central Park. The indoor space will be the Bike Hall of Fame. So we were thinking about even doing a possible panel after the main, if the weather's good, we'll use the main space at the farmer's market, and then afterwards we will do a potential panel in the Bike Hall of Fame. We're interested, and we're trying to find speakers who can be powerful to address the current state of what's happening. And we want to be able to be very poignant and find the right people, because things may be changing dramatically at a moment's notice. And so we want to be able to have those kind of people ready to go and have them speak on what is happening that moment. So we're trying to be flexible on who we are trying to find, as well as who's an expert in the field. So, yeah. Anyone add anything?
Just throw out that the date is April 26th. That's the date that we landed on. 10 to 12 is, I think, the timing. And I just wanted to say a big thank you to Carrie, who has helped us confirm a lot of the people and invite them. And so the programming is really, really already almost complete. So that's pretty amazing. I just saw that you updated a couple additional things. So that's really great. I don't know, do we want to share the theme? Yeah?
Sure.
I think we said we would go with Si Se Puede, the power of collective action.
Have you shared this with Mr. Hirsch already?
Oh, he missed it. He missed it. He can't say anything about it.
And if anybody was like, say, an immigration lawyer in the audience or something like that, would they talk to you if they thought they might have a way to contribute, Edgar?
Absolutely, yes.
100%.
Alan, did you miss the theme?
Well, yeah, I appreciate all the energy that has gone into this, and I just want to reiterate, it really feels like a sensitive time. We've had a little bit of conversation about the threats to our immigrant community, and this seems to me is an opportunity for us to not only celebrate workers in general and our immigrant workers in particular, but talk about the continuing threats that are serious indeed. So thank you for all of your good thinking and your planning. April 26th, 12 to 2? 10 to 12. 10 to 12. That makes more sense. Okay. I thought I was writing it down 12 to 2. No, that can't be right. Okay. Further thoughts then on the Cesar Chavez celebration? Questions from folks other than the date and time? Okay, let's move then right along. And the next item is ways to report hate incidents, or thoughts about ways to improve the reporting of hate incidents. And I'm going to ask Connor to speak to this.
Yeah, so our committee had a meeting where we discussed a few things. So we discussed some of the concerns, which I think are also relevant to some of what came up tonight, around focusing on individuals and the different aspects of that. But one thing that was discussed is that these discussions and this type of reporting is happening either way because there's already mechanisms to do so, and it's just that the people who are doing the reporting are the ones who are aware of those mechanisms, so there can still be benefits to reducing those barriers and increasing access to these mechanisms, but it's also important to try to emphasize ways to support victims of these types of incidents and to create a more positive community rather than necessarily focusing on punitive measures or things along those lines. So we discussed some ways to possibly frame these types of resources in that type of context. And it seems like that's what the California versus Hate already does. They seem to focus more on ways to support the people experiencing this rather than trying to go after the people who have been accused of committing hate incidents. So thinking about ways to kind of emphasize that type of aspect. And there was discussion of possibly putting this on the Commission's website, which ties into the website review committee. And again, kind of listing off some of these different reporting channels that already exist, but also with some framing and narrative around trying to create a more positive and inclusive community. And yeah, thinking about ways to do that type of verbiage. And there will hopefully be kind of some draft writing of possible language in the near future.
All right, Connor, thank you for that, that great report. Anybody have questions or anything to add? I noted that, excuse me, speaking of the California Commission on the State of Hate, there was a report issued by that commission this week that noted in particular that concerns about approaching law enforcement is one of the things that prevents people from getting support and access to resources. And that I think is really fits well with the work that you've been doing and talking about tonight, Connor. Thank you. Okay, any further comments, questions, etc.? All right, then let me move on to our next committee. This is Inquiry into Discrimination Against Arabs, Palestinians, and Muslims from their supporters and allies in the Davis community. And
I think that's me.
okay, Ellie, take it away.
Yeah, pretty short report. We've met twice since the last meeting. It's going really well. We're getting a lot done. And we're going to continue on doing the good work.
Okay. Looking forward to hearing more and to participating in that effort. Questions, etc. for Ellie? All right, then thank you to that committee for its work, and we will move on to the next item, investigating and documenting incidents of anti-Semitism and discrimination in the city of Davis and proposing strategies to combat it. This is Amir, Laney, and Edgar, and who will be speaking.
So I can update. So as a reminder, last month I updated and shared with you that this committee has decided to move forward by encouraging the Jewish community to arrange an event to celebrate Jewish American Heritage Month in the month of May. So that's what we've done. So in the past month, we have created such a group, and we've met twice. That group is meant to be really broad and representative of the Jewish community in Davis. I can share with you that we have 7 or 8 members. Amongst them, we have CDH board members, we have Chabad, people from the Chabad community, we have people from Hillel, both staff and board member, we have students from UC Davis, and then we have community members. So we try to reach as far as we can. We met twice, and our goal right now is to have that event done at the end of the month of May. So we're looking at May 31st, that's a Saturday. And the process that needs to happen is we need that event to be endorsed by HRC and then to move forward to the city council. And what we're asking is co-sponsoring and endorsement. So we're not asking for any city resources in the terms of any monetary or staff, significant staff support. So let me share with you the plan that we have so far for this event, and I would like to hear what this commission is, what you guys think. So the overall theme, again, I think that it aligns with what many people of us are concerned about. We decided that a very appropriate theme would be immigration, resilience, and solidarity, the Jewish American journey and beyond. And we're thinking about a kind of a community picnic in Central Park where people come together, bring food that they can share, maybe have some music, some dancing. We haven't gotten yet the specific plan, but we're not thinking of any big speeches or anything as such. We're also thinking about potentially incorporating into the space banners and posters to celebrate some of the Jewish Americans that have contributed along those lines, and quotes and events such as, for example, Emma Lazarus, who wrote the poem, that is inscribed on the Statue of Liberty, and various other people such as Clara Lerich and Rabbi Joachim Prince that marched with Martin Luther King, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and lots of other individuals that had a very clear message that speaks about our theme. So this is the overarching kind of plan for this event. And we could, so I would like to open it for discussion and see what the commission thinks about that.
All right, thank you. Sounds like there's been a lot of thinking and a lot of good work about how to put that together. So thank you for that, Amir. If I'm understanding correctly, you said you had a date in mind of May 31st?
So it's not definitive, so we need to confirm availability and a couple of other things, but that looks like a date that could work.
Okay, others on the committee or members of the commission who want to have further discussion on this? Amir, you're just looking for kind of feedback on the thoughts that have been generated so far.
Correct, so we're looking for feedback. If there are concerns, we would, I'll take those concerns and talk within our group. And if the plan sounds good, if the committee is happy with it, then we could endorse it and move it forward to the city council.
Yeah, I think this is the sort of, we would need to bring it for endorsement. If we can't endorse today, that's fine, but if we would need to endorse it the next HRC meeting to be able to have the time to get it through. So I think we really want to hear any concerns people might have that we would be able to assuage by next meeting, by the group continuing to evolve the plan. And so this is maybe one of those moments for honest dialogue where if people do have concerns about how reasons why you might not be willing to endorse this, then we would like to know what they are so that we can do our best to be creating an event that people feel good about, right? So I think today we wanted to just open it up for thoughts from people, or there may be groups that you think should be invited to participate that we haven't thought of yet. Are there, are there concerns about the idea of a community picnic with singing, dancing, lots of education, hopefully for us, about the contributions of Jewish American people. So we don't want to be surprised and bring it for a possible endorsement and then find at that point that there's a lot of concerns. So anything that people are willing to share now would be really helpful as we continue to kind of evolve the plan and figure out the details.
Well, maybe I can just, ask a question about this, because I love the idea of having an event to commemorate these kind of contributions and this rich heritage. So you named off some of my heroes when you were going through that list. So I just think it would be wonderful. I am not a member of the Jewish community in this town. But I do understand, and it's been referenced, repeatedly, that there is more than one group, and it hasn't always been a completely uncontroversial time. There maybe have been some tension, and I think this is a great way to bring people together, and or could be a great way to bring these people together and do something about the healing that I can't personally speak to it, but have heard about. So I think, Amir, when you were talking about being inclusive, that just seems to me to be I think it was one of the very first things you said, and it seems to me to be like a foundational principle here. And folks who are more knowledgeable about this than I am can speak to it. But I love the idea of bringing people together, especially given some of the conflicts and tensions. And I just want it to be done, obviously, as we all do, in a way that doesn't, make other people more upset, right? That's what comes to mind when you lay out the idea. And then I'll turn to comment.
Yeah, so I really like this general idea. One group that I believe was mentioned by public commenter earlier that seems like might be interested, if they're not already, is I believe Jews for Justice or something along those lines. So that seems like a group to possibly contact if they're not already involved, and maybe they are. I would also support reopening public comment, since it seems like we have someone who is interested in public commenting.
I would be more than happy to have public comment on this issue. And I'll bet there are people who would be more than happy to comment.
Thank you. I'm sorry I was late. Thank you for the immigration thing. The Social Justice Committee of Beth Avery that's our topic for this year and maybe more, unfortunately. So we'll be glad to contribute where we can. I'm the Social Justice Chair of Beth Avery, and I can't speak for the entire committee yet, but I think we'd be very interested in contributing and being part of the Jewish American, the Heritage Day, and contributing that. And I also think there's another group in town called Jews for Justice. I think they would be part of it, which encompasses the entire diversity of the Jewish experience. My wife and I brought a scholar in from the East Coast 5 years ago, Larry Bush, who was at the time the editor of Jewish Currents magazine. And I don't know if that's appropriate, but in terms of the broad names of the Jewish community has been on the forefront of social justice and social change in the United States. And we still are, we're difficult people to deal with, and I think bringing the whole diversity of that in, and I would add to the list, Brandeis should be on our list too, I hope, and I'm sure there's many others, there's a number of literary Jews who should be on our list too, and maybe our poet laureate could basically contribute something to our community celebration. There are things that divide us. Jews have always struggled, and Israel has always been a big struggle, if you go into history deeply. But I think if we tread lightly on those subjects, there is so much that we share among the Jewish community, and so much we share with other oppressed people and victims in the country. And someone could always be picked on first and second, third. That was the lesson of the Holocaust, and we remember that, I think, as a people. And that's why we social justice is the core, as our rabbi said to us. A synagogue without a social justice committee is not a synagogue.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Others for public comment on this item? Please come forward.
Hi, I just want to say I love this idea. I love honoring Jewish Americans. I would love for you to reach out to our group because we'd love to be involved too. I'm part of the Davis Jews for Justice, working for peace, home and abroad. And I'll just read our mission statement just so you're all aware. We're dedicated to education and creating community within a Jewish, social justice-oriented space. Our goal is to offer a safe place to explore our relationship to Israel and Palestine and to promote a message to our community that support for Palestinians does not inherently equate with anti-Semitism. So we would be delighted to be part of that. You can reach out to us. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Others who wish to be heard on this? All right. Let me close public comment then. Thank you, Connor, for the suggestion. And is there, please.
Can you speak a little bit more about the education aspect? Because did you say no speakers and thinking more like posters and stuff? A little clarification on that element.
Yes, so probably no speakers, so opening remarks, nothing more than that. And then again, we're thinking about posters and banners to just put out there some of those individuals, their work, quotes, something along those lines.
And for next time before we vote on endorsing, will we be able to get a sense of who you plan to be talking about? I know you've listed a couple people, but I think that would be helpful to just have a better sense. Jewish American history is so diverse. There's so many figures you could talk about. So I guess maybe that's less a question, more a suggestion. It would be really nice to be able to see a bit more of the thinking behind that.
You'd be more likely to endorse if you could see kind of exactly the messages that we're hoping maybe you're more comfortable. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would say, especially if you can get it out ahead of time. I will say that also is really helpful to be able to just sit and think instead of right in the moment.
I think that was our hope and our plan as a subcommittee to get as much together as possible. So, yeah.
Can I just ask a clarifying question, please? Amir, is the thought that this community group will be presenting this idea to the commission at the next meeting, similar to when we've had other community groups that are asking for sponsorships for events? I'm just trying to get a good clarification of how much of this is HRC driven versus community group driven so that I can
So,
have a good
I mean,
understanding.
that's an excellent question. I mean, I am, I'm the middleman because I serve on HRC and I'm part of that, community or I'm part of that committee. So I'm happy to do it in whatever way that is more conducive with city, regulation, the way that we work here. And, we'll do our best to just make it happen and to streamline with the way that city works, so.
Thanks, Mira. I'm just thinking if it's a community group that you are a part of, which is obviously very helpful to have you here, it may be helpful for them to also come, similar to when Patty Fong came and presented to the commission with the idea that her organization was wanting to have their, like her sponsorship on the film festival and stuff. Otherwise, it might get a little bit conflated of, is this an HRC planned event versus a community group event? And if it's a community group event, it sounds like you've done a great job of
So
building.
it's definitely a community planned event, right? It's not HRC, and we are asking for co-sponsorship as opposed to, being planned by HRC and city staff.
Thanks for clarifying.
So just, I guess, to make sure again that we understand exactly. So is the expectation is that next time someone else from this committee, the community committee, will come and talk during public comments, or should I talk about that during the agenda item, or?
Kevin, do you have a sense of what would be best
I
for you?
would think it could simply be part of the item. Obviously, so anybody can speak in public comment on any issue. But I would think it would be part of the presentation from the committee. Sounds like there are members of the commission who are looking for a little bit more detail, hopefully in advance if possible, for digesting, if I understood the suggestion.
So how would we do it in advance? Do we include that in the agenda?
Yeah, so Carrie has invited us in the past, and I think it's just a good standing practice. If a committee has a report or materials that it would like the group to consider as part of its presentation at the meeting, those can be provided to Carrie, can be included in the package that is distributed to the commission and is available to the public. And so there's an opportunity for folks to see it for at least 72 hours in advance. And, I think that's what maybe the suggestion was, that we weren't seeing it for the first time. But having folks who are involved in putting it on, who would be able to speak to any questions that there might be. It sounds like there's a lot of good work that's been happening at the committee level in terms of outreach and generating ideas and potential contributors. We heard some folks stepping forward this evening who would like to also, I guess, contribute to that. So, yeah.
So that sounds very reasonable. I guess I want to also clarify. So we'll prepare, like a plan for this event to share with the commission before next meeting. I'm just thinking about, simple logistics, right? We'll say, it sounds like people are interested in knowing what kind of banners or what kind of, poster will we have. I'm just thinking that, do we need to be fully committed to those and those only by next month, right? Because, so that's where I'm not sure what's the expectation, and I want to just be clear, because my goal, we need to endorse it by next meeting, the latest. We can't delay it more because of timing. So I just want to make sure that I can prepare for the committee what the committee needs in order to endorse it, and to make sure that we understand the level of commitment.
Okay, good question. I want to hear from others, but I might offer my own personal comment on that. I have no desire at all to micromanage somebody's event. And I think that to the extent that there is buy-in and inclusiveness from those various voices that we've kind of alluded to, that's gonna be the way to make sure that everybody's kind of voice has been heard and there isn't concern sort of expressed among folks here or surprise. But that's my only reaction. I don't know how others feel.
I had very similar thoughts, which, you know, I think for us to expect the entire program to be laid out in front of us is, you know, wouldn't be fair to the subcommittee and the people planning it, because often things come up. But I do think getting some sense of it, like Ellie asked, would be good. I think that would be nice to sort of have a sense for the theme and who or, you know, what the education will look like. I think community picnic, music, dancing all sounds great. I do think that just to avoid potential issues around the programming by having various groups that have come up and volunteered, I think that will just help ensure that you know, we're not creating more division within the Jewish community and other communities.
So I guess I want to be super clear and transparent, and there have been things said, and again, it's kind of undercurrent. So I want to make it really clear and transparent, right? So you know, obviously the Jewish community is far from being a monolith, right? Like any other group, and there are, you know, lots of different shades of gray. I can tell you right now that I think that knowing the community that I work in, I think that chances of the people that are currently working to work with Jews for Justice, probably not going to work. I think that those are probably a little bit too far for the people that I'm working with, in spite of the, I think, wide range of people and views on that group. And I don't see, you know, there is no way to make everybody happy all the time. I'm happy to engage in a conversation, obviously, but I don't know that I can promise that, you know, every Jew in town would be super happy with it. It's just, you know, it's just the nature. Like, I've been working with this community for the last, you know, not too long, but, you know, a year and a half, and there is a joke about Jews, 2 Jews, 3 synagogues, and that's very true. So just putting the things out there again, because it's really important for me to get that endorsed. So I want to be really clear about the expectations.
Ellie, please.
I appreciate what you're saying. Obviously, no community is a monolith, but I think especially after all the conversations that we've had today, I don't know that it's appropriate for the HRC to be endorsing an event that is just going to be more divisive. So obviously, we're not up here as a commission saying that this community picnic and this event cannot take place, but your most recent comment made me not sure if it is in the best interest of the HRC to endorse it, at the point where it doesn't even look like conversations between groups of Jewish Americans can take place.
Okay, well, if I might speak for myself, what I'm hearing is that there is a committee that is approaching this work with an open mind and goodwill. It is assuming goodwill on the part of the people that it reaches out to, echoing some of the thoughts that Edgar shared earlier. Edgar's actually a member of the committee, as it happens, so I'm pleased to hear that. And I think that if there's that kind of spirit of openness going forward, I don't know that there has to be, you know, no one in town who wants to see a different event. I think what folks are striving for, and please others weigh in, is that we're not co-sponsoring an event that furthers divisions in any way, right? Not that it's gonna be everybody's, perfect party, but, where their DJ plays their favorite songs, but is a place that really is kind of inclusive, and, peaceful.
Absolutely. It's an open event, open to the public. People are going to be encouraged to come and join us. Absolutely. Right? But again, I can't guarantee that we can be as inclusive as we can. And everybody is welcome. Everybody is encouraged to join.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think maybe take it to your committee, the suggestion of inviting the other Jewish American groups, and then maybe come back to the next commission meeting with an answer as to whether or not they are willing to work inclusively and opening up to the other groups. I don't want you, to feel like you have to answer for your, the group now. I think bring that proposal to them and then come back to us, or come back to the commission and see if they would be willing to open up and work. And I think maybe give them a chance to try. On another note, I just want to make sure that we need to make a motion to extend our time. Because we have one more committee update and then the long-range calendar to talk about.
That's true, and we also need to set a time for our next meeting. So, Felix, I'll take that as a motion to continue the meeting past our normally 30 cutoff time in order to complete our discussion on this item, the Sanctuary City item, maybe a brief discussion on future agenda items, such as the land acknowledgement issue, and then a question about the time and place of our next meeting. So with
I will second.
at least seconds, she's on a roll. All right, all those in favor then of the motion to extend the time of the meeting for those purposes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Opposed.
To what time?
Right.
I'm not, I got a lot of stuff to do.
I've been
How long
told
is staying?
I need about 5 minutes for the
Okay.
the Sanctuary City update.
Okay.
We're
Sorry
We're
about
gonna-
the stickler.
gonna,
So should we call it 9?
I'm hoping that should be enough.
9 o'clock? Works for me.
Edgar's leaving at 9. Okay. Edgar, I'm going to count you as an aye vote for that. And I believe the motion carries unanimously. So thank you, Felix, for the motion and the reminder. And let me see if there's any further discussion on this issue. I feel like we've had a pretty good discussion, but is there anything else, Felix, that you wanted to add or anything else?
I'm just gonna say a really quick thing. I mean, I was gonna say this earlier as kind of like a joke, but it doesn't really work now. But in May, it's Asian American History Month as well, right? If we were gonna put together, I wish my community was organized enough to put on an event. We're not. We're not a monolith. Go figure. There's been so much war between the different countries, right? Could we come together for a picnic in a park? I would hope so. And I know that the tensions are different. The tensions are more current. But I would hope that for a few hours, people could come together. That's what I would hope. And that's what I would, if I was reaching out to all these different Asian American groups who have deep, deep tensions, I would say, could we do this just to show our sense of community? So that's
Well, there is a lot to celebrate. So, a reason to celebrate. So, with that, let's wrap up this discussion unless the committee needs any further thoughts, ideas from us. I really appreciate all the great work that's been doing, and I have great confidence that the committee will come back with a proposal that we'd be thrilled to support. All right, we now have, last but really quite critical issue regarding Sanctuary City. We're calling it Sanctuary City, but really the issue is much broader than that. It has to do with the threats and the real ongoing efforts to marginalize and I'm not even going to find the words in this day, with respect to the immigrant community, particularly many of our Latino immigrants. So maybe we can get a report from this committee. This is Felix Connor Laney and Kate Snow. And ask you guys if there's further update.
Sure, yeah. So we reviewed the current resolution and all the times which it was reaffirmed. The last time which it was reaffirmed was in 2014. As far as we could see, there was a mention, or there was a text in our last agenda with the inclusion of the resolution itself that it was last reaffirmed in 2021. But I could not find any resources or anything to back that up. Yes.
Felix, I asked that same question. It was via a consent calendar item at council, and so that's where it lived. I confirmed that with the city clerk when I provided that information.
Thank you so much for that update. And then, yeah, so other things we discussed, we talked about corrections and possible updates to the current resolution. We talked about the possibility of adding, or whether what we needed to do was add another line of text. It seems like every time the resolution was reaffirmed, there was another line of text added to the resolution itself, strengthening the previous reaffirmations of the resolution, but also adding to what the current need was. So whether there needed to be a line of text added to reflect the current needs for reaffirming the resolution. We discussed there's a nonprofit group which grants, or you can sign up to make your city a welcoming city. So we talked about welcoming cities and whether this is something that the city of Davis should explore. It's sort of in addition to the sanctuary city moniker that comes with some more added benefits, and it's something where it would be a membership that the city would have to look into and employ. But it also comes with some resources from the nonprofit to the city, which would help us create programs and further assistance for those communities. We talked about law enforcement. We discussed the Yolo County law enforcement agencies getting together and talking about this issue. We talked about whether or not they are willing to inform the community of the presence of ICE, and whether or not they are even allowed to disclose this or not due to professional courtesies that they might want to uphold. And if they have that information, ICE is here, but don't wish to disclose it to not disrupt those relationships, that maybe they could let the city council know, or the mayor, and there could be some sort of an announcement from the city, as opposed to from the Davis Police Department, or any agency in town or in the county, to let us know, so that we can let our community members know that ICE is in town. And then we also talked about adding text to include other protected groups to be covered under the resolution. So not just our immigrant community, but also being as protections for other groups are being threatened now. Whether we needed to add some text to bring those groups in as part of our welcoming city or sanctuary city idea. So that's it. Unless anybody wanted to add something else.
Lana? good, important discussions going on there. Connor.
Yeah, I just wanted to specifically mention the idea of other groups. So in particular, like it could be part of the same resolution as like a broader idea of sanctuary, but it could also be a separate thing. But the notion there would be sanctuary for oppressed and marginalized groups, and in particular, I think two very pertinent like issues here are reproductive justice and trans rights. So for instance, if people are seeking reproductive care in Davis from some state that is very much restricting it, or seeking like gender affirming care in Davis from some state that's restricting it, making sure to be a sanctuary around that so that police in Davis don't give their information to police in those other states and like those types of things.
Thank you, Connor. Questions, further comments, Dina?
I just have a comment, and you all may have already done this as part of your subcommittee, but I know that there are some groups in town that are thinking a lot about this. There's the Culture of Community group, and they have a whole group that's focused on immigration. And there are two leaders. This whole group has been sort of spearheaded and managed by the Davis Phoenix Coalition. So reaching out to them, you might be able to just get some ideas for what you want to do for this subcommittee from the leaders of the immigration group, because they're sourcing from all of these other people that have a lot of expertise. So just a thought.
Yeah, definitely. We want to reach out to those groups and also encourage members of our community who are subject matter experts to reach out to the HRC and, if they are willing to or have anything to add or any way of helping us, that would be awesome.
I think you might have my email.
No more public comment. Just All right. Thank you to that committee. Really, really critical and timely issue that we are trying to get ahead of. All right. If there are no further questions or comments, then on the Sanctuary City quote-unquote committee, let's then turn to number 7, future agenda items, long-range calendar. We have the Hong Tai Wen Award nomination review scheduled for March. We have a presentation from the State Conflict Resolution Center Division of the Civil Rights Department in April. I heard talk tonight around interest in the land acknowledgement. I want to check whether there is a desire to reflect that issue on our long-range calendar. We have also had sort of an ongoing question, I think, about how we work with the Hate Free Together folks. Remember that part of our charge is to engage in, as the city's liaison on community engagement with Hate Free Together. And I think it would be useful to at least keep sight of that and hear from folks at Hate Free Together about how they would like that engagement to work. But I guess I'm going to suggest that it should have a place on our future agenda items and maybe a date by which we can get an update. I think it's been about a year since we last had a presentation. The group did make a presentation to City Council at the special meeting last Tuesday, and I understand that they're undergoing a strategic planning process, but maybe that's something that we might learn more about. I know Michael and others are involved, so just flagging that. But before we have any further discussion, maybe I'll just briefly open this up for public comment on the long-range calendar.
I would urge you to take on the strategic plan of Hate Free Together. You guys are much closer to the community. You're involved with it. You've heard all the dialogue and the discourse, and I think you have a lot to add. Again, my concern is, again, the framing of Hate Free, I don't think it's very productive. It puts us up the wrong direction. I think you guys weighing in would be really helpful and provide a lot of input on that thing. And I also think that some sort of guidelines talk about guidelines and procedures and what sort of civil behavior, weighing in on that. The city has some policies on civil behavior. Maybe you can take that and expand on that. Because that's a way, if you talk about it, you integrate it into yourself. And that might be a way of help the city council and the whole community work forward about not legalizing not putting bounds on free speech, but what is civil behavior? Because that's an inner circle of what we want to do. And there's some places you go outside and protests are an important part of things. We've seen that, the Vietnam War and whatever. But in terms of in the inside dialogue, what are those rules we want to hold on to ourselves and to enforce as best we can? I know I personally struggle with those rules myself. I go on the lines, I call outside lines too many times. But I think the more we talk about it, the more we can internalize it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else who would like to be heard on the long-range calendar item? Okay, we'll bring it back to the dais then. And are there thoughts about things folks want to see on the long-range calendar? Land acknowledgement, Hate Free Together, yes, no, something else?
Who was on the subcommittee for land besides?
I don't think did we actually create?
I don't think we ever had a subcommittee. I think we just decided there was a matter of urgency to asking them to please start doing the land acknowledgement. And I think we just decided, my recollection is just we all decided to vote on that. And then we said we would create a subcommittee to then hopefully ask that we do more than just a land acknowledgement. I would really like to call it, I'm warming up to this idea of like the City of Davis Potwin Relations Committee of some kind. So it just like allows for a little bit more broader exploration of like what that relationship is, especially in relationship to, I'd like to review what Michael's gonna send to us and try to just think, and I know Kate Snow has got some relationship with various members of various local Potwin communities. And so I wonder if we can't really propose what we should change about how we do the land acknowledgement to make it less performative, I'm getting tired, without some maybe broader looking at what might be asked of us by Potwin people. So I would say we would add City of Davis Potwin Relations to the long range calendar.
Let me just ask, is there anyone who thinks otherwise? Okay, if not, I'm going to suggest that we add that then to the agenda. And Lenny, do you have a suggestion about, like, in terms of time frame? Because I would really like to see at least a target date on these events so they don't just continue to sit there and we have some idea about when we want to take them up. I mean, at least, for example, like with the webpage committee, how it moved from long range to an agenda item for discussion.
I guess my opinion is that maybe, and this is like, I feel awkward saying this, but maybe like the leadership committee that is putting together the agendas, which happens to be me, Kevin, and Carrie, try to put the things that we have here in order of priority. I don't know if we could exactly say month to month, because say Hate Free Together wants to come sometime and present for us, then we're going to bump that to the top of whatever, because we're going to be available on their schedule or whatever. But I think these should be a prioritized list, and maybe we could bring that to the larger group and ask for any like adjustments in prioritizing. But I don't know, we've got something kind of big for March and we've got something kind of big for April, so I don't know if we can plan out more further than that.
Well,
I want to hear from other
yeah, I think it would just be potentially creation of the committee, not anything more.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other hands, Connor, I think, and Felix. No, okay.
So I was going to say, I don't know if this is too ambitious or if this is not ambitious enough. Obviously, things could happen like on an earlier time frame. but maybe trying to get something concrete out before October, like before Indigenous Peoples' Day, basically. As like, not just the creation of the committee, but like some sort of recommendations that are then approved by council prior to that.
Love that.
Okay, others? Okay, I'm going to say that we've had the discussion we need to have for now on that issue. What about the Hate Free Together thing, or anything else that folks might want to suggest? Getting past Edgar's cutoff time. I'm getting nervous.
I feel like, I guess with Hate Free Together, I feel like Linda and Carrie are both well aware that we want to follow through on our charge to actively work with Hate Free Together. And I don't have a sense that adding it to our long-range calendar does anything towards making that happen. And so I guess I just want to ask Linda and Carrie to just please let us know, have it at the forefront of your mind that you know we really want to be helpful with that. And just let us know when you see an opportunity to do that, because I think we've been pretty clear about that, and I don't think there's anything else we could do to bring that forward until they're ready for us to engage.
I've also chatted with Jenny Tan about it, and she knows as well that you're interested, and she did say at this point she didn't have anything because they are in the midst of working on the strategic plan. But I can certainly touch base with her again to see if during the strategic plan process, if there's a role for HRC to play in that.
Was there ever supposed to be a HRC liaison, or do we squash that?
That had not been determined, no.
And we do have Kate Snow with us who's on, which is helpful, I think.
And I believe Michael's also on that Hate Free Together. Michael, is that right?
I don't think there is liaison. I think that would be great. I do know that some of us do join a call every other month, so that's helpful, but I think an actual liaison would be good.
I'm not sure that that idea was, I know that idea was presented by HRC. I don't know if it was vetted.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly the point, is that there hasn't really been that much dialogue, so we don't really know how we should proceed. But I think Lenny has memorialized that we are interested and committed to the thing that we have been told by the city council that we are to do. So we want it on record that we're trying to uphold our obligation. We will wait to be told how to do that. Michael?
I think, if I may, I suggested having HRC is on my part in the executive committee for HFDs representing the university. And Kate is representing the school district. So I think it would be valuable to revisit that conversation to see if there's an opportunity for that.
Michael, is that something that you can, my understanding was that that really had to come from the whole Hate Free Together committee to sort of agree to that, and I wasn't sure if that conversation had taken place.
I'll bring it up. And just for clarification, we're not in the midst of strategic planning for HFD. We're currently working on the RFP to get someone to help us with a strategic planning for HFD.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, thank you. Okay, I am looking at Edgar, and I just, I think we have exhausted this topic for now, if not each other. And let me just then, before we adjourn, we need to set a time and place for our next meeting. The reason that we need to have a conversation about this is that our next meeting falls during spring break week for the university, and I think maybe for the school district as well. So my suggestion is to ask whether folks might be available April 3rd. We require that you have a second April meeting. This doesn't count for both months. But it would be Thursday, April 3rd, and I believe the place that's available is the senior center. Does that work for folks?
I'm not gonna be here.
You won't be here on the 3rd.
Kevin, are you able to see if there's a quorum on our actual date first, please? March 27th is our regular meeting date, and we need to see if we have a quorum available for that date.
I've heard that there are a number of conflicts. Do folks have, am I understanding correctly?
I won't be able to be there.
I will be most likely gone.
I will be gone.
Here we go.
That's helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's now been more officially established. Okay. So I will hear Mr. Hirsch on this. Why not?
Being a commission nerd and a Brown Act nerd has my responsibility to warn you that under this, not the Brown Act, but the city's implementation of the Brown Act says you have a special meeting, you cannot have public comment. You won't have public comment. So you need to explicitly ask this, and there's no reason you could, but city never puts it on the agenda because it's in the commission handbook, not in the Brown Act. You should act explicitly, make a motion that you request the city allow general public comment at this special meeting. Otherwise, they will follow the procedure manual and you won't have it. So please ask in a separate motion that should be general public comment be allowed at your special meeting. Thank you very much.
You have been heard, Alan. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Could I suggest the week before spring break?
Yeah, I think that there's an issue I've heard on the 20th as well.
That was because the WIN awards are due on the 17th. The subcommittee for reviewing the WIN awards needs to do it between the 17th and the next meeting. If we do it on the 20th, there will not be enough time to put the information into the packet with the recommendations on the 20th.
And knowing that in the past we've extended the deadline. Yes, every year.
Should we take a vote on April 3rd or just let people put their hands up? Or
Yeah, I just want to hear if there's any other thought about things one way or the other.
So on April 3rd, again, it's just myself, but again, it's, this is the opportunity that we'll have to vote and endorse the Jewish American Heritage Month celebration. And if I'm not going to be here to represent, I am concerned that it might fall kind of between the chairs, between the cracks. Yeah.
Can we look at that week? Which day is that week?
Yeah, earlier that week works for me.
Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be a Thursday, so it could be like a Tuesday of that week?
Tuesday.
It can't be a Tuesday, that's city council meeting.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll be at the senior school.
Wednesday?
Carrie might have obligations. Linda might have obligations.
Every other Thursday
Oh, wait.
is.
Mondays?
Wednesday?
Wednesday or Monday?
I'm good any day,
But
yeah, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's good for me.
We're talking about Wednesday the 26th.
no, Wednesday the 2nd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wednesday, April 2nd.
Hours for me.
Works for me.
Good.
Me as well.
I just need to make sure that there's a location available.
Is that something you're able to do now, or that, okay, no.
No, I have to check
So-
in with our community services department, holds the calendar, so I need to.
We have a lovely small.
We are,
conference room.
we are going to pencil in that date, subject to availability of the
And that was
commission.
the 2nd?
Karen, fiscal commission will be in here that night,
Yeah, so,
but I know that.
yeah, we will often move to the senior center, so as long as there's room at the senior center, which, I mean, typically there is, but I do need to, they're a busy place over there, so I need to check in and make sure. So I'll make a note to check in on that, and we'll hold April 2nd, it sounds like, as a 95%.
Nobody's speaking up, but did everybody confirm that works for you? Felix, you're good, Connor, you're good?
The earliest it would be 6, right?
We would hold the time at 6:30 as we normally do.
Yeah, Wednesday the 2nd, April 2nd, yes, that works for me.
Does it not work for anyone? Okay.
Only in need of a place, but otherwise it sounds like we've got folks available. All right, With that, and Edgar's stabbing eyes at me, I apologize.
Do we have
for
a
the-
public comment? Have we had public comment on the meeting?
Did we, I thought we heard public comment, I thought we heard.
No, no,
public
no,
comment.
heard for public comment on the, you need to vote on.
Oh, we need to vote on whether.
Carrie, can you confirm what the process for that is? Is that something?
A special meeting has very specific rules that are given to me by the city clerk. So what I can check into to see, does this have to be a special meeting, or because your meeting fell during spring break, are we just simply moving your regular meeting back to a week, and then in which case it would be able to incorporate general public comment per the request?
Could we, are these a requirement of the state, a requirement of the city, or something that the city just
Okay,
typically does as a norm?
these aren't questions I can answer right now. My understanding is from the clerk's office is that if it's a special meeting, there's a very specific agenda that we need to hold with the language that we've seen before on it. So as I mentioned, if this meeting is simply because we're not able to have a quorum and we're pushing it back a week, I can look into the idea of just making it another regular meeting.
I think the general consensus of the commission is that we are desirous of public comment, and to the extent that we can make that happen, that would be great. Thank you, Carrie. All right, seeing no further business, I thank you all for your stamina and your hard work, and we are adjourned.
Thanks for all the people in states already.
I know.
Special